Difficulty there. Sorry about that, folks. Had a little minor technical difficulty getting her off the runway there, but we are ready to rock. And I am super excited about today's Hangout. I'll take the glasses off because of the glare. I am Todd Tremonti, and I'm super, super excited to be joined today by Wally Conway. I'll give him the lengthy introduction here in a second, but if you've read my emails or looked at any of our invites, you've heard that I like to call him the most interesting real man in the world. So it was so funny. I was talking a little bit of smack to Wally as we got going here, because as I was getting ready for the Hangout and I was inviting people and letting folks know that I was going to have some time to spend with Wally, I was calling him the most interesting man in the world, and I was joking about the Dos Equis commercial, as most of you know. And so I roll on over to his Facebook page to steal a picture for our promos, and I see like 8 different pictures of Wally with the Dos Equis guy in the cutout. I mean, it was awesome. So I love it. Super, super excited. But the reason I call Wally the most interesting man in the world, not only have I had a good chance to hang out with him and be in some mastermind groups with him as we fly around the country and talk shop about owning businesses and marketing and real estate, but Wally really understands what it is that we do as real estate agents. So I'll give you the snapshot intro, and then we'll get a conversation go here and see if we can tap into the mind of the man. So Wally runs Go Home, and is it Go Home Pro Inspections?
Home Pro Inspections, yeah.
Home Pro Inspections, yeah. Okay, Home Pro Inspections in Florida. And I've never seen an inspection company like it, so we'll talk more about it. But they do an incredible job with home inspections. But he also educates real estate agents really all over the country. He speaks, he writes, he does training courses. He's got an awesome book out. Some of the tricks of the trade and tips on making sure that home inspections get the job done for you. We're going to talk today about how to use inspections to increase sales prices and tighten up the process for real estate agents, as well as how that can benefit our homeowners. But we're also going to talk about how Wally utilizes media in his business and in his marketing, and how he helps real estate agents use media. He's got a long-running radio show, and then he talks to agents about how to repurpose and control the media that you use to market your business. So I'm really, really excited to have Wally Conway on with us. I'll say, hey, let Wally jump on, say 1 or 2 things, and then we'll see if we can start picking his brain. Hey, Wally, thank you so much for joining us.
Happy to be with you here, Todd. You know, all the times we've talked, this is the first time it hasn't been in person. So great to be with you, but I always enjoy it when we're together.
That's right. So I agree. We Wally and I have a little too much fun probably. So the Hangout will hopefully keep us on track a little bit here today. But one of the things I'm excited about, just jumping right into, Wally, and letting people kind of see, I won't say most, a lot of real estate agents view the home inspector as the deal killer. And I know you've heard that before. You and I have talked about that, but yeah, a lot of agents will say, listen, be careful who you use, because these guys are basically professional deal killers. They're going to come in and kill the deal, take away your commission, and make you start all over with your buyer. So let's just start there. Talk to folks about how they could approach the inspector-agent relationship a little bit differently, and how a good inspector is not a deal killer.
Well, I enjoy that term, deal killer. That was a real foundation of our business. Back in '94, that was such a common thought. Rather than run from it, we embraced it as a talking point to market and develop the business. And in that early time, I did a little bit more research on the origin of the term deal killer. And I discovered that in Australia, where they are a bit more sophisticated than us in one sense, they want to be like Brits, but they also have a Wild West attitude. They do not use the term deal killer in Australia when referring to home inspectors. They rather have chosen the term contract assassin. I enjoy that, I got a little bit of humor in the whole mix. But yeah, here's what really happens, and it's fascinating, having spoken to tens of thousands of real estate agents around the country and truly millions of home buyers when you blend in radio and television. If you and I were doing our performance, our little show here together today, and on one side of the room we had every home buyer we could ever hope to have, and on the other side of the room we had every real estate agent who will ever hope to work with in a cross sale, or in our case an inspection, and we were to be having a discussion about what the home inspection is about, who wants what from this process. What you'll discover is that for many real estate agents, they don't have the same thought and opinion of what it should be like as the customer. Well, whenever there's a difference of desire, a difference of expectation in any aspect of the transaction, if there's not a likeness or a meeting of the minds, there's problem and deals can fall apart. So our entire educative position has been about educating simultaneously the agent population while educating the consumer on how to use this tool, the home inspection, in a practical sense to do what the homeowner is trying to do, and that is ultimately avoid buying a nightmare. That's easy to do. And do what the real estate agent is trying to do, and that is bring the person to a comfort so they can get the contract signed, get the closure, get the commission, vacation in Cancun. So that's been our entire focus, is to get everyone in the transaction on the same page in an objective and positive way so deals get closed, which is what everyone truly wants.
Yeah, and you touch on some obvious points. Unfortunately, there's so many part-timers and wannabes on our side of the deal, on the agent or broker side of the deal. They don't always want the same thing. And that's what's frustrating for, when I'm talking or consulting with agents and brokers around the country, is those that want to grow and want to learn and that are listening and watching something like this usually do align with what you just said. We truly want to advocate on behalf of the client, but there's a lot of people out there with, commission breath. They just want to get the deal done. They, we say commission breath because you can just smell it on them. They want a deal more than the buyer wants a deal. And that's dangerous because all they want to do is get to the end of the road. They don't want to navigate it in a way that really protects the client. And so they view the inspector as all they can do is bring up negatives. They don't really want to advocate and say, look, this is a guy that I trust. I know they're thorough. I know they communicate clearly, and they're going to let us know, hey, I'm not telling you do or don't buy. I'm telling you, here's what you got. And obviously there are good and bad inspectors, but there are also good and bad approaches to the inspection. And that's the point you're making, is having the same goal as your client, which is, I don't want to buy a dog. I don't want to buy a money pit. So let me tease up one other thing that I know you're passionate about, because we've both talked about it. But so this brings up a whole nother deal. What we're talking about is I've got a home under contract, I've got a buyer, and now it's time to get it inspected. And we're completely insane if we don't get it inspected. So how about we turn the table? Now, as a broker and a team leader and an owner, a little bit more of my time is focused on the seller side than on the buyer side. And historically, I've been a listing agent, and a lot of the people listening or watching would either are listing agents or would like to do some listings or do a lot of listings. So I've heard two things said. Number one, it's a great idea to get a pre-inspection. Number two, the dumbest thing you could do is to get a pre-inspection. So can you tell us why there's such a difference of opinion?
Sure, I can. And by way of background, 6 or 10 years ago it has been now, I actually spoke at NAR. I did a presentation called The Compelling Case for Listing Inspections. I can send that to you. You can share it with your team and others. But here's what NAR, there you go. You have that there. Feel free.
Everybody can see that.
Yeah, it's an audio as well as a transcript. But anyway, here's what NAR told us, that homes that are inspected at the time they go on the market, that is a pre-listing inspection, those homes sell in less time and for closer to asking price. Now, with that we'll accept that as a fact. It's data from NAR. What seller would not want to sell in less time, and what seller would not want to sell for closer to asking price? From the lister's perspective, why would an agent want to take a listing that would sell for not as much money or not sell faster? So a larger payday faster is good for everyone in the transaction. So what the program was about was teaching the talking points to make it scripted, essentially, to make it easy to make that presentation. I'll tell you an interesting thing, Todd. Probably 5 to 7% of the inspections that we do here in Jacksonville are listing inspections. We likely do a higher percentage of listing inspections than most any inspection company, solely because we work so hard to advocate that position. Now, here's what's crazy. The majority of those listing inspections are not done by consumers selling their homes. They're done by real estate agents who are selling their own home.
Yep.
What that tells me is the agent has no difficulty in seeing the value.
Right.
They have difficulty in presenting the value to the consumer so that they will move forward and get that done.
Yeah. And so this is one of the reasons you and I get along so well, because obviously I'm passionate about the agent communication and positioning and marketing side. And so I think you nailed it on the head. And a lot of the folks that have listened to any of my stuff have heard me reference Malcolm Gladwell and the book Outliers and some of the research that's been done on how real estate agents approach their own transactions differently than the clients.
Right.
Well, the positioning in that book was basically that real estate agents are manipulative jerks because we take better care of ourselves than the client. And that's not accurate. The data is accurate, but the interpretation of the data, I think, is offensive, but oh well. Your point is accurate. What's happening is the agent believes in the value of the process, whether it be pre-inspection, staging, photography, repairing problems, that kind of thing. But they have a difficulty communicating it or selling it to the client. This comes down to a bigger issue, which is that most agents are failing to lead. They're not really leading through the transaction. They're actually following through the transaction and hoping at the end, like a little puppy with their mouth open, panting for a treat, that there's something in it for them at the end. Right. So what I want you to help me communicate to the agents that are listening today and that will listen to this down the road is, I obviously, try to play that neutrally, but obviously I believe in the value of a pre-inspection. We do one on every time we market a property for a seller. I sold my house late last year. I certainly did one for myself. Actually, I did one on the one I sold, and then I did at least one, depending on how you look at it, on the one that I bought. Now, here's the big thing that I want people to understand, and this is where you can help me from a more technical side. What I tell our clients, I have what I call the 7 secrets to selling homes for 7% above market value in 7 days or less. Lots of sevens in there, easy to remember, hopefully. So one of the big 7 secrets, most people have already gone to todd7secrets.com and they've gotten all that. But if not, you can go there. But one of the 7 secrets is to do the pre-inspection. But the big secret buried in it is not just to do it, it's to go one step further and take the document, which is normally the scariest document in the entire purchase process for the buyer, which is the inspection report.
Right.
And in our area, those are usually 6, 7, or 8 pages. And a lot of people now are using the infrared cameras and they're including photos. So it can be 8, 10, 12 pages with photos of stuff that's wrong with the house. Now, it could be incredibly minor and it could be very, very major. But what we want to do is we want to take this document that the buyer is going to get later, and we want to reposition it from being the scariest document in the entire transaction to being a marketing document that is a value add for our seller. Absolutely. We want to put it up front, right?
Absolutely.
So give me your thoughts on that, and then maybe I'll provide some specifics, but I want to know.
Sure. Yeah, I'll give you several thoughts. Number one, you focusing heavily on listings, a large number of top producers around the country heavily on listings. Many people who concentrate heavy on listings are calling expireds every day. I've polled hundreds and hundreds of agents. I've never once had an agent call an expired where the expired listing had a pre-listing inspection. That's telling me that every one of them gets to the other end. If we get the listing, it's done. I'll tell you how confident I am in that data. In our company, if a person does a listing inspection and they have a 6-month listing agreement, we will refund 100% of the money if the home does not sell in 6 months, as long as they stay with that same agent.
Yeah,
we've never refunded a dime.
Yeah.
So by removing the fear, we've removed the obstacle. We've also gone that other length and said, tell you what, I am so confident that this will occur. We set them up on a 6-month same as cash program. Wow. No money up front. If it doesn't sell, I eat it. It's easy. So we just remove all the fear. Now, back to your question about positioning it. Here's in every negotiation, and it goes all the way back to when you were 7 years old and your mother said to you, if you do something wrong, Toddy boy, You better be the one to tell me, or you've got heck to pay.
Yeah.
Bad news never gets better with time. So what happens is, by having the pre-listing inspection, to be truthful, the vast majority of times, the vast majority of the document is very positive and very supportive of a good condition. There might be a couple piddly things, and we just address that. And we say to that seller or the potential buyer, let me go back to the seller. One, it gives you, the agent, tremendous power in helping them set the price correctly.
Absolutely. Yes.
And then the second piece of that is, as the home is being presented to the other agents and then further to the community, is saying, we have priced the home absolutely correctly based on all its flaws and conditions, and here's the number. That's done two things. We've told the agent community now it's priced right. We've told them there's virtually no chance of a scary bugaboo coming up if there's another inspection. And we've removed the fear of the unknown for a buyer to look at it. So that's why that NAR data is so supportive, that says this is going to go faster and for much closer to asking price. We've taken something that would have been fearful later and made it a position of comfort up front, even before the contract is written or the house is shown. So it's a real confidence builder, agent-wise, a real confidence builder, consumer-wise. It just works.
Yeah, I love it. Obviously, and we'll go into a little bit more detail just to let everybody know. You should see a little Q&A question bar either down at the bottom or over to the side, depending on what kind of machine you're looking at this on. Feel free to enter questions in at any time, and I'll try to lob some of those over towards Wally or answer them myself if they're relevant. So feel free to send those in. Here's something I would say, Wally, on that same point. You talk about a confidence builder. I think as listing agents or even as buyer agents, but on the real estate agent side, we often kind of underestimate the emotional nature of a buyer, especially if you're a listing agent, which we call a marketing agent. But if you primarily work with sellers, you tend to think of clients as sellers. Sellers tend to be a little bit more analytical, a little more calculated. Buyers tend to be very emotional, and the psychology of the marketing is much more important. So when you're talking about the fear or the anticipation that a buyer has, you want to take as much control of that as you can. And like you said, bad news does not get better with time. So we want to position that news, whether it be good, bad, or neutral. We want to position that news as best we can position it. We're not going to be misleading in any way whatsoever. No. But let's say I get an inspection report from you guys, and there's 4 things that are what I call above the line. There's 4 things we need to pay attention to. 4 things that might need some attention. Well, we're gonna address all 4 of those, and we're gonna have included with the inspection report now highlight and notes and copies of invoices from reputable professionals with warranties. And so now when a buyer looks at this document before they've ever even been in the home or before they submit an offer, not only are they fully aware that there are no problems, and we're admitting that there were some previous issues and now they've been fixed. Psychologically, we're building trust because they're starting to think things like, oh, great, these are the kind of people that when there's a problem, they just fix it. These are the kind of people that when they fix things, they fix it right. So now all the clutter, all the uncertainty that was communicating to them, I wonder what else they're hiding. I wonder what we don't know about. I wonder what else has been broken for 4 years and they just never fixed. So we tell our sellers before they go on the market, a pre-inspection is going to do 3 things for you. Number 1, it's going to save you money. So if we find a leak under the sink, I got a guy that can fix that for $50. If I'm representing a buyer and my inspection finds a leak under the sink, I'm going to ask for $250 just because I'm not exactly sure what the extent is. I don't know how long it's been there, what else has caused, what's behind the wall. It's paranoia money. I'm just paying to protect my client. So it saves you money. Number 2, it increases your potential sales price because of all the reasons we just talked about. Your buyer now has the information up front. They're going to make an offer full well with all the understanding of all that. And then number 3, it keeps the deal together. because once the deal is done, there's really not a lot of new information coming later that's going to change their confidence or their opinion. Now, there's a bunch of other things it can do, and I think probably the single biggest thing it can do is increase the price of the transaction, because I can now put that up front as a marketing document, and my buyer is seeing it, building trust, and they're saying, I'd be willing to pay a little bit more. I'd be willing to move a little bit more quickly, because I know when everybody else sees this, they're going to feel compelled to purchase just like me. So what do you, am I right or am I off a little bit? What do you think?
You're right. And there's also an additional point to be made. In the ideal, they would have an inspection, correct every discrepancy, and move on. But very often, there isn't the desire to spend money for correction, or there isn't any money to spend for correction. We see that a lot in after people passed away, homes coming out of probate or divorces or other situations where there's no money.
Right.
When there's no money, it's all the more important to get control by doing the inspection up front, because it gives you a much higher probability of an as-is sale, because we've put a position of higher confidence in the buyer's mind. It says, okay, I know it's imperfect. Here is its imperfections. I can deal with it. I've even seen many agents in that as-is mindset put bid proposals for the corrections and sit and say, here were the 4 things wrong. Here is the formal proposal to cost to correct. We've positioned the pricing of the home reflecting that. Let's all move forward, and everyone does. And I'll tell you, another nice thing about that is very often a person would rather correct things the way they want with whomever they choose and in the color they want, or the new countertop or sink or whatever it is. It's the beginning of customization and personalization, and that enhances the probability of an as-is sale. You know this well, Todd. The challenge isn't causing this to be successful. The challenge has always been for us as an inspection company is educating agents to comfortably understand the 6 or 10 objections that always come up from the lister, and the workarounds to those, so that ultimately the person selling the home says, oh, I get it. I'm going to net more money by doing this. And at the end of the day, everybody wants to net more money. And if we always are focused on that, and we can articulate the whys in the house, no one says no.
Yep. And there's 2 other things that you buried in there, and then we'll move on to some other things. But number one, it allows you to price the home accurately. Yes. So when you do have a seller that you mentioned probate or estate type stuff, and we have attorneys that refer us that type of business. We've got one going on right now, a perfect example. But when you know the seller or the heir or whoever is in control of the transaction doesn't have the ability to make the repairs, it is still valuable to be able to understand the condition of the property, because number one, you can price it accurately. All the reasons you just said of saying, look, it's as is, but you already know up front what it is, instead of having all the fear and paranoia. The second one that's not mentioned as often, but golly, if you want to be in this business for a long time, you just want to do things right. And there's something to be said about understanding the condition of the property and ethically communicating what that is, and just saying, look, I don't want to put all the time, energy, effort, and emotion into this and lead my buyer down that path, only to find out that at the 11th hour, someone goes, oh my gosh, there's something horrible. We're out of here. We're $100,000 off. No way. Have a nice life. And then your client is no longer, the price was so high, where you need to be now is so far out of it that a good fair price is no longer realistic from them. So you can come in and it can be a big part of helping you price accurately as well. There are occasionally some underlying nightmares, and we need to know that up front. And then we can say, listen, hey, if we're still selling, here's the reality. Here's where we need to price. And then you save yourself a lot of time, energy, and frustration. You protect your statistics if you're tracking your days on market and all those things, and you protect your client from a lot of heartache. So
I am of the opinion, Todd, that the agent, you as the agent who can have these dialogues with the lister, you will get more listings, you will get better listings, just because you're articulating something that everyone is fearful of, but that no one even wants to touch. So you attract a better class of seller. I don't necessarily, when I say class, I don't mean it's all $1 million listings rather than $50,000 listings, but you're attracting the type of customer who wants to price the home right and sell it fast. There's a heck of a lot more money to be made by pricing them right and selling them quick than there are to taking listings that are overpriced from a seller who's going to be obstinate anyway when it comes time for the buyer to have a home inspection, time to make repairs. Let's identify the crazy people up front, pass on that listing, and attract more and better listings that we can sell and actually get paid for.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And like I said, obviously we use it built into our process to still be able to price the homes very, very aggressively. But there's a point where if you're off, you're off, and there's no value in just wasting everybody's time. So I think hopefully we've effectively communicated that if you do the pre-inspection, it gives you the ability to actually sell homes at higher prices more quickly, serve the client better, position yourself as an ethical, honest, more professional agent, and build a really great relationship with your inspection company if you've got one or more. Let's move kind of beyond the direct and obvious benefits of your world and my world, and let's talk about some of the unique things you do marketing-wise, media-wise, that are relevant to a home inspector, a real estate agent, a loan officer, anybody like that. And I'm gonna point out something that you and I have never talked about that I've looked through your stuff, and it's funny to me, but I love it. Tell everybody listening what in the world a monster-free guarantee is.
Well, the monster-free guarantee is something that costs us less than a nickel. But here is the idea. People are afraid of buying the money pit. There's all this fear. So what we do, we have the monster-free guarantee with us all the time. Every inspector has it. And if there are children at the home inspection, which often occurs, we will ask, little Bobby or little Todd, which bedroom is yours? So we'll go in with the infrared camera and give them equipment and do other stuff. And we're looking for monsters. We're looking for things that would be fearful for them. And then we determine there's no monsters, there's no ghosts. The home is gorgeous, it's fun and safe. We give them their monster-free guarantee, and they run out to the living room or wherever their parents are assembled, and they present the monster-free guarantee. And it's another bonding tool of the family with the house, and giving them confidence in us that we really understand about the fear and anxiety of moving.
So I love it, and you just nailed it at the end, is you understand the fear and the anxiety of moving. So here's the takeaway to everybody watching and listening is, what is the emotional process that your client is going through? If it's a home buyer, it's extremely emotional. And if you've been doing this very long or you've studied it at all, there's some very predictable ups and downs along the way. The highest of highs is when you get your offer accepted. Usually the lowest of lows is when you find out there's a really bad inspection item. So here's the deal. What can you do to preempt that? Not to change the reality, but to deliver, communicate, protect, and advocate for your client. So here's one of the deals. If poorly communicated, a really good inspection can still be depressing and nerve-wracking, right? So what they've done is they've said, listen, we understand that this day can be a little nerve-wracking for people. We're going to find a way to warm it up, lighten the mood, add a little humor. So be thinking about in your business, when are the times when you need to do that? I can tell you right now, when we're asking somebody to sign an exclusive representation agreement, that can be kind of an edgy, on-nerve time for somebody. Nobody really loves to sign a contract. So number one, we try not to use the word contract, but what could you do? Something like a monster-free guarantee that would take something that would be traditionally on the negative side and turn it into the positive. Let me just read to everybody what this says, just because I think it's really clever. It says, monster-free guarantee, Home Pro Inspection hereby guarantees to all children at this address, fill in the blank, that we have inspected in all closets and under any beds, and we certify this house to be a monster-free zone. Nope, no monsters here. Carry on. So it's awesome. So the parents are getting it. They're loving it. The kids are happy. And it's part of that process. Now, just think about, as a real estate agent, just think about how Wally and his guys are serving the agent in this. You just said it. Hey, which room is yours? That's that assumptive close of mentally moving into the home. getting the kids at ease, positive, lighthearted in the home, getting the parents thinking this is going to be a positive environment for us. If this agent has referred me to this inspector, I'm liking the experience I'm getting from everyone that this agent is putting me in contact with. So just an example of good, clean fun and marketing and really thinking through the psychology of the process. So where are the bottlenecks in the transactional process for you, and what could you inject in there, like Wally said, for less than a nickel, for a 4-cent color copy that you can fill in an address on and have at your disposal all the time to turn one of the valleys in the transaction into a plateau or even a high point. So really.
Another fun piece of that, Todd, if there's multiple children and multiple bedrooms, we'll give them multiple months to free guarantees. And we've gotten some really interesting feedback where they've ended up framed on the walls so that every time for days or weeks or months or years, when that child or that parent is showing the room, there's our advertisement affixed to the wall. I mean, find me another brochure that people frame and hang on their kid's wall. It's beautiful.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it. I didn't even think about that. They're probably holding on to it. That's really, really great. Tell them real quick about the book, and then we'll talk about why the book.
Well, the why of the book is really what the book is about. In '94, when I started the home inspection company here in Jacksonville, there were 9 home inspectors in the phone book. I was number 10. And they all had the reputation of deal killer. They all had very adversarial relationships with agents, due in great part because they had very negative attitudes toward agents. So the book doesn't have anything about this is the technical part of a roof, that or the other. It's essentially a collection of anecdotes over 20 or 30,000 inspections that said, here are the goofy things that occur that would be traditional problems or potential deal killers. And it's just the short stories of how to work through each part. We can give those away by the hundreds to brand new agents and explain to them that if you will read this, you still won't know anything about houses, but you'll know everything about getting deals closed and creating an all referral business. You're like, oh, so that's what it's about. I'm like, yeah, that's what it's about.
And that's why I wanted to show it to everyone here, because most people watching right now are real estate agents and brokers and team leaders. And I want to make it clear to everybody that we're not here just to talk about the technicalities of a home inspection. As a matter of fact, we've done very little of that. The book, I want to say 2 things. Number one, if you want to read the book, you should. Home Inspection Secrets of a Happy Home Inspector. Wally Conway, you can get it on Amazon. It was a bestseller. I think it still is a bestseller. I read it. It's exactly what Wally just said. It's the context. It's not the technicality. It's the story behind what it takes to get a home buyer through that process and happy coming out the other side. Now, the other thing to think about is just what Wally's doing with his marketing, and you've already picked up on it if you're paying attention, that he has no desire to be like the other 9 home inspectors in his market. And that's what you guys hear from me all the time, is that you got to differentiate yourself from all the other agents and brokers and team leaders in your market. So how many home inspectors do you guys know that have written a book? Number 1, written a book, period. Number 2, written a book about their trade and done so in a way that's not boring as all get out. So the takeaway from that as an agent or a broker is, what book do you have in you that can position you as the guy in your market that wrote the book on blank, on selling homes that have had difficulty selling before, on buying golf course homes, on selling homes on land, on homes with pools, on $1 million plus homes in Delaware, whatever it is. But I'll tell you, coming from a guy who's written several books and knowing a little bit about Wally's process, you don't have to be a Harvard English major to write a book. If you're an expert and you know your stuff, the information is in here. It can be written, it can be spoken, it can be dictated, it can be transcribed. There's a lot of ways to get that information out. But Wally just mentioned how they're giving the book away. And I know he's selling books online and he's making a little bit of money from that. But the big deal is to position himself in his marketplace to earn the trust of real estate agents, clients, peers, other vendors. You can talk more about that, Wally. but I want people here to see the marketing thinking behind that. And then we'll start talking a little bit about some of the other really cool marketing stuff you're doing with radio and TV and speaking and other things too. But
well, I will share with you, Todd, in what's basically a more private forum. I can't share this so well in my own neighborhood, but the reason we're able to give the books away by the hundreds to new agents, and essentially it's our brochure, it's our calling card, which one would look at and say, "My, this must be expensive, giving away hundreds and hundreds of these books." But the truth of it is, and you alluded to it, the national sales of the book exceeds the cost to give away more than I could ever hope to give away locally.
Yep.
So it's a money maker giving away books. The other thing of it is, people throw away your brochure and throw away your listing presentation and throw away all this other tchotchke type stuff that you give them. People do not throw away books. Look behind you, look behind me. I've got bookshelves full of books. Yeah, I've read them. I don't read many of them twice. And I've got another 400 or 500 books at home. People retain the books. The big thing it does, Todd, and I know you know this well, but it's worth sharing with your team, is that it positions you as an expert. It positions you as a celebrity. It allows you to engage in dialogues with people who otherwise would not answer the door or answer the phone or even take your call. Yep. It also is a springboard to lots of local free media. Much like when a consumer is Googling, trying to find someone to answer their question or list their house or inspect their house, the people in the media, when they need a story idea, they're Googling, trying to find an expert and trying to find an answer. When they discover that you've written a book because it's predominant on your page, or that you host radio, or that you've done any other thing that differentiates you from the other, what have you got, 60,000 real estate agents in Dallas? Yeah. We've got just over 10,000 here in Jacksonville. Oh, by the way, that number of 9 home inspectors, that was from 20 years ago.
Yeah, I was going to say.
There's now 871 home inspection licenses. Yes. We went to licensing much like Texas did a while ago. But the point of it is, these simple marketing things, the creation of celebrity, the creation of expertise, breaks you out from that other group. And it makes you completely non-competitive. Now, one would say, well, why would you want to be non-competitive? Well, I want to be non-competitive, not in the sense that I'm competing with the other 60,000 agents in Dallas or 5,000 in this town or that town, but that no one can compete with me.
Yep.
When no one can compete with me in terms of credibility, expertise, celebrity, and whatnot, I get to choose my pricing because no one else can come near it.
Yep. It's the same thing. Yeah, it's the same thing we talk about when we talk about marketing homes for sale. Again, one of those secrets is what I call we call creating scarcity. But the way you do that is you create a market of one, right?
Yes, absolutely.
No one can compete because I'm the only one. You're the only home inspector, I certainly think, in Florida that's got a radio show that is a Keller Williams instructor, that's written a book, that's spoken at NAR, that's, you know, and been on HGTV and all the other 800 things you've done. Nobody can compete with that. So now what are they going to do? Maybe they'll go compete with each other on price or something, but that's not a game you have to play. And we can talk about price strategy too. We could talk about 100 different things, but it positions you as more valuable, which allows you to charge a little bit more, which allows you to then provide more value as well as be more profitable, both excellent things. But it also leads to more and more opportunity. I mean, feel free to share a little bit about what you're doing as far as teaching and training and speaking and how that then benefits your business so that other people can have a takeaway from that.
Well, much like for a real estate agent who builds a team, when you build your team to a certain size, you're doing less and less of those more difficult or uncomfortable tasks. You have your listing specialist, you have your buyer specialist, you have your closing coordinator. Well, we're able to do much of that on the home inspection side, or very similar, meaning the bulk of my time is spent in business development, agent training, and other revenue generators. My position is for any small business, not home inspection or real estate exclusive, is you want to cause your marketing to be a profit center. That is, people will pay you for what you have to share as much or more than what you would otherwise have done. So I tell my staff all the time, if you send me out to do a home inspection, which I haven't done in 5 or 7 years, but if you send me out to a house, I'm costing us money and I'm devaluing the company because of the creation of that expert. But I want to say one more small thing about that, because when someone listens to the things you've done, which I know quite well and I have tremendous respect for, I've done some similar things, a newer agent or a newer business person goes, oh my gosh, look what these guys have done over this number of years and all these other things. Trust me, it only takes 1 or maybe 2 small things to set yourself so far ahead of the crowd that it doesn't matter. That, you know, I continue to, you might call it resume build or credential build, but it's fine slicing at this point. Yeah. Writing that book, doing a few other media things, hosting Hangouts in your own market, and advancing yourself truly as an expert in however tight or narrow you need to make that niche. And for the newer agents who are with you and I know follow you, Todd, that idea of go small to get big.
Yep.
So if all you can claim is an expertise on the street where you live, claim it loud.
Yep.
That there's nobody that knows more about this street than I. And then maybe next year it'll be 2 blocks, and make it bigger and larger. The problem comes in when someone attempts to create expertise that's too far beyond where they presently are. Start it really tiny, like a spark, and bam, it'll fire off before you know it. So niche really tight.
That's the point I was going to make is, okay, so I'm a brand new agent. I haven't done all the things you guys have done. And your point is spot on. Start somewhere, and you don't need 150 different things. You need 1 or 2 things that put you head and shoulders above the competition. And in most of our worlds, especially in the world of real estate, the average guy isn't doing anything.
Correct.
As a matter of fact, they're working against themselves. You know, how many postcards have you seen that says we specialize in, and then there's 12 points. There's 12 bullet points, you know, residential, commercial, mortgage origination, insurance, home warranty. It's like, come on. Or it says, we're your area specialist for Dallas, Richardson, Plano, Garland, Firewood, and then they got 37 geographies. Now, here's the deal. You and I know this, and most people watching and listening know this. You might actually have an area expertise in 6 or 8, or if you're in a city as big as mine, that might actually be true. But to Wally's point, you're much better served picking 1 or maybe 2 or 3 and having what I call insulated marketing. I'm going to market my specialization in Plano, Texas, loud and clear into the world. I might also market over here my specialization to Richardson, Texas, loud and clear into the world. I'm never going to do that in more than a handful of areas where I truly have an expertise. But what I can do in one area is write a book, sell 0 copies or sell a couple of dozen copies, and get it in the hands of people. It's genuinely valuable expertise, and now be seen as the guy that wrote the book. Who else wrote that? Now listen, Donald Trump cannot compete with me in that category. Everyone thinks Donald Trump's a global real estate genius, but he doesn't know my block, like you just said. He doesn't know my neighborhood. Even he cannot compete with me on that front. The only guy that can compete with me is the other real estate agent in my market that's as committed and as focused as me that also wrote a book. And he does not exist. He doesn't, and he's not going to. And if somehow by some miracle he does, then jump on radio, then write a position paper, then write a special report, then go speak at a local event. None of these things are astronomically difficult. If there's a Rotary Club or a Lions Club, they're going to want you to speak. Now, if you get to go speak at NAR like Wally, or you have a radio show that's been on a big station for years and years and years, you know, then that's almost king of the hill stuff that you just can't be knocked off. But you can build towards that by doing some really simple things. One of the things that you tell me all the time, Wally, is you want to control your own media. So can you kind of unpack that for people?
Yes. And when I first started the business, much like a person first getting in real estate, You're inundated by every imaginable marketing rep or online service, and everybody's going to do all these things for you. Well, you got to go to Zillow, you got to go to Trulia, you got to buy postcards, you got to buy pens, you got to do all this. And I was just inundated with people wanting to sell me stuff who were trying to convince me if I didn't do their one thing, I would be invisible and I'd go away. Yeah. So I made it a passion to study media and marketing, and really became an honest student, as you know, lifelong learner in marketing. And here's what I discovered about media. No matter the media, it doesn't matter if it's television, radio, print, money pages, it doesn't matter. Every one of their buildings or the places where they run their businesses are essentially the same. If you walk in the front door, there's a receptionist. One half of the building, if you go off on one side, is all of the people that sell ad space. That ad space is a print page or minutes of time, or whatever they're selling. They all hang out on one half of the building. The other half of the building is where all the creatives hang out, the on-air personalities, the writers who write content, all those folks. The people on the sales side, their only job in life is to take money from you and fill ad space. Whether it works or not, whether it's interesting or not, whether it's a good place to advertise for your business, they don't know any of that. They don't care any of that. They're space fillers. Now, the content people, their total interest is engagement with their audience. That's what they care about. Now, if you can provide content and expertise and story ideas, suddenly they love you. I've been in various media where competitors were the paying sponsor, but we were the content. So you really want to work at studying and meeting people and sharing ideas. I'll give you a tip that I don't share often, but love you a long time, you know that. One of the greatest things that a person can do, no matter what their business is, on your webpage, put a tab at the top that says media only.
Yep.
That jumps off that page like crazy to media people who are looking for research and story ideas and experts to write about. Even if you've got nothing to put on there, you don't have other news articles you've written, if you've done nothing, just put the link on there and just put little blurbs to say, why you love media or how you can be helpful to them. They gravitate to that. That's you making their job of content creation easy for them, and they know they can stop. We did a thing the other day when you developed that.
Client sees that as just an authoritative, celebrity. I don't know what that is, but this guy's super important.
Right. It tells the consumer you've been somewhere, and that's okay too. But what you're really trying to attract is the media. We have enough of a relationship here that we've built over the years with local media. They know, and mind you, when it comes to radio and television, they don't work on stuff for days or weeks. It's 12 in the afternoon. We haven't got anything. We need a story by 3:30. Let's call Wally. He gets it. I had our investigative reporter, Ken Amaro, call a week before last at about 12:30. Says, hey, I'm up against a 3:30 story deadline. We're trying to do something with stucco. You got any ideas? I said, yeah, this, that, and the other. He said, great. Where can we meet? I called another buddy of mine whose house was up toward Ken's studio. We met at the house. We were out there for 10 minutes, and it ran on the evening news at 5:30 and again at 11. And then the link and the download and the Facebook and all the other jazz, and it's driven business. That's a $300 or $400 30-second spot. Crazy.
Yep. And then you repurpose that for perpetuity. You put that on your media only, you got it on your Facebook, you put it on your postcard, you got it on YouTube videos. So this is one of the big takeaways I wanted people to get to hear you on, because we can get drowned out in the world of real estate agents because you got, like you said, a million guys trying to sell you the one solution to everything under the sun. And the answer is it's one thing and it's a million things piled onto each other. The one thing is to stand out from the crowd, to offer some value. The pile is a little bit of this, a little bit of that. See if you can get yourself on the media forefront. See if you can get a book. See if you can write an article. See if you can do a blog. But All these things pile on, pile on, pile on, and build momentum and build momentum. And you can do a little bit every day. If you're brand new at this, great. If you've been doing this for 20 years, great. Most of us, if really push came to shove and a news crew showed up with a camera or to interview you to go back and make a story out of, you know your stuff on enough things that you could give some really compelling content, right? So if you're not a writer, you're not a big speaker in front of an audience, you still have some expertise that can be translated into some of the stuff we're talking about. You can still create and control media. You can still utilize media to your advantage. You can certainly repurpose one thing for 50 years.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what Wally's talking about. You don't have to have a million different things. If you were on the nightly news 10 years ago and converts, yeah, I mean, if it works, keep using it, right? So you just gotta consider what do I already have that I can be using, and then you got to make yourself available to new opportunities, like Wally's talking about, and some ways to do that to put yourself in the path of opportunity. Have a tab like that on your website. Reach out to some local media. Send an email. Do a press release. I mean, those aren't all the best things, but you can do little by little. You can build relationships with those people. And
put in your database. They're also potential home buyers and home sellers. Every media contact you can find, stick them in your database. If they become customers, so much the better.
Yeah, you'll love this. I mean, I'm a regular guest. This isn't paid media. I'm a regular guest on a big home improvement radio show on the biggest AM station in the state on the weekends, and I ended up selling 2 properties for the host of the show. I mean, what more can you ask for? By the way, I didn't do it for free. I probably would have, to be honest with you, but we did our normal deal. Sold 2 homes. We got both sides of the deal in less than a week. He was ecstatic. So now I've got the de facto endorsement. Sure. Plus I have a literal endorsement that we're running an ad with now. Plus I can repurpose that for years and years and years and years. It doesn't have to be frequent. It's just the guy that people trust in the world of real estate that I've sold a home to. I know other people that have sought out what I call influencers. A city council member, a mayor, a state legislator, a local celebrity, and said, hey, if you ever need anything real estate related, just know I'm here. I'll do it for free or cheap, or I'll swap you service, or I'm glad to take care, whatever. I'm not suggesting you do things for free, but sometimes like while I was saying, people, your marketing can become a profit center. So This is a way for you to do your job that you do anyway, for the purpose of marketing and remarketing. So just things to be thinking about. On a simple level, just to use video as an example, you could go around town and just video those influencers. You don't even have to be the person, you don't have to sell their house. You can just ask them about the real estate market. And then by nature of association, you claim some of that celebrity and you can display your expertise while interviewing them. You're positioning them as the stud, yet you're coming along right with them. So we've got about 3 minutes left, Wally. You and I could talk for 3 more days, but what have we not covered that would be relevant on anything? Pre-inspections, positioning yourself in your market, differentiating, media. What any last thoughts you'd like to share?
I think the thing that the person, no matter where they're starting from at this, moving forward, is grab hold of the idea that you're an expert. People crave expertise.
Yeah.
People trust experts, and it doesn't matter the product category or the service category. Make the claim that you are an expert. Because candidly, if you don't believe you're an expert, that reeks through your pores.
Yeah.
People.
Yeah, we have. I want to point people to this. If they wanted to get this, Wally, where could they get it?
That's a good. We don't actually sell that. I've generally gifted that to folks.
Okay. Is it okay if I share with people?
Your folks just give it away. If you need it on MP3, let me know. I'll send it to you. I'd love to share with you.
So if and I'm going to make another point on what you were just saying, but real quick, I want to make sure people have access to this. If you want to get this, send me an email or send someone on my team an email. If you've never been to todd7secrets.com, TODDS number 7 secrets.com. That's where you can get the 7 secrets to 7% higher sales prices in 7 days or less. And you can jump on our radar. So if you do that, just reply to the email when we deliver that stuff to you. Just reply and say, hey, I want Wally's pre-inspection information. It's going to help you communicate with your clients the value of doing this, and it's going to help you increase the value of your transactions, shorten the sales cycle, and all those things. I have something somewhat similar on what you just talked about, Wally, on the mindset of agents and their own level of expertise. We call that Unleash Your Profits. If you're interested in that, we can shoot me an email and we can talk about that. We can get that to you one way or the other. And then we do our members only group where we have 2 calls a month and we talk about things like this nonstop. How do you stand out? How do you differentiate? How do you approach your own personal expertise the right way? How do you get access to media and repurpose that? How do you get access to world-class experts like Wally in your own marketplace? Okay, great. Wally's awesome, but he's in Florida. I'm in California. What do I do? Being a member of that group is a way to get access to resources like that and checklists and systems and scripting and dialogues. The kind of stuff you hear Wally talking about that he's built his business on are the kinds of things that we're helping people build their business on. So Todd's7secrets.com will get you in communication with us, get you the free content, the videos on how the 7 things that we do to sell houses for more money and faster. And if you want Wally's information, just reply to one of those emails and say, hey, I'd like to get Wally's information on pre-inspections. If you want information on the mindset and systems around your personal expertise, my audio deal, send me that email and we can make sure we connect with everybody. We were rocking and rolling, and hopefully we answered all the questions. Honestly, I didn't see a whole bunch of those while we were rolling. I'm seeing a couple now, but I think we've covered pretty much all of them. So if you want to get access to Wally's stuff, let me know. Thank you, Wally, so much for spending some time with us. As always, we looked up and it was over, but I appreciate your time, had a lot of fun with you, and I think there's some really valuable stuff that people can really benefit. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Have a beautiful day, and I'll see you soon.
You too. Hey, go Rockets, everybody. Rockets going to win tonight. Don't say anything. Don't talk smack. We're down 3-1, but we're coming back. All right, thanks, everybody, for your time. Hopefully it was valuable. We'll talk to you soon. Have a good one.